Good afternoon. My name is Kateryna Odarchenko, and we continue to analyze sociological research and understand Ukrainian society together with a team of Institute for Democracy and Development and C Group. And today we will talk about one of my favorite themes, it's national identity, and we will see interest in sociological research with my favorite method, face-to-face interview, about what people think and what they remember as the main point of a war and defeat from Russia. So I think it's will be very interesting to understand these patterns and understand Ukrainian society. It's not really new, so it was held on this spring, but still it's, I think, will be quite interesting. Margin, it's free 2 and 3 here, and as I mentioned, it's face-to-face method, and obviously it wasn't face-to-face interview in territory which is occupied now, or which now actively bombed. So what's the main result of this research, and what is national remembrance of this war? What is the main points which people remember about this war? So we see, like researchers said, that we see, and author of this research, it's Fond Democracy Initiative of Ilya Kucheriv, Razumkov Group, and Dobro.ua non-profit. So we see that here in Ukraine we form new national identity, and it will be one of the main issue of Ukrainian nowadays, like identity. So it's also form our collective memory. More than a third of Ukrainians said that the main point for them in this war was defendant of Kiev. So all these battles which was in Kiev and Kiev region. It was also quick occupation of Kherson region. I'm originally from Kherson region, so I know that. And also around 25% of Ukrainians said that the big victory was bombing and destroying Russian navies, and Russian rocket cruiser Moscow. It was a lot of memes. It's completely iconic folklore about that. So for Ukrainians, it's very, very important because it was defeating of flagman navy ship for Russians. It's very ununderstandable for Americans. It's ununderstandable detail, which is pretty important to understand, like what will be the main patterns of this memory. Also, when we are talking about what people remember, it's obviously occupation of nuclear station. It's Ukrainian rebellions against occupators. So when Russian occupied Kherson region, people not afraid, but they go to demonstration with Ukrainian flags against occupation. Also, it's help of international partners and additional weapon from Western partners. And obviously people remember massive missile attacks. So it's important. So if we are talking about direct numbers, 36% remember about defeating of Kiev and battles near Kiev. 32% remember occupation of southern Ukraine. Mariupol battles, 28%. 27% remember this defeating of Navy ship. Protest, 24%. additional weapons 24%. So you see that also additional weapons. So it's also form loyalty to Western partners, and it's total loyalty. You can see my video about understanding of NATO integration and also European Union integration. So I guess this number also give additional opportunity to understand why it's so big support. Also it's some additional point which people remain, like liberating of Kherson, like attack to Crimean bridge, and also not so much people remember, for example, battle near Chernihiv. One more time, we already see in Ukrainian cultural product, so in songs, in memory places, in folklore, in internet, also a lot of stories about defeating of Bakhmut and Azovstal. I mentioned to you in previous video that we have big fight with Russians, with Wagner group there. One more time, if we talk about your personal, so what was most stressful and most rememberable for you? So people said 16% that it was a Russian attack on Kharkiv region, 36% that it was defendants of Kiev region, and occupation of Kherson 32%. But obviously, if we're talking about people who live in this region, no, they more remember situation in their region. And one more time, on this research, 92% of Ukrainians believe in Ukrainian victory, so we can compare with other sociological group, and it's pretty the same number of completely optimism. So here we just can compare and said that result is pretty the same, so results is pretty accurate, because methods it's a little different, but result is pretty accurate. What's the main and so the next question, what's the main point which disappoints Ukrainians and which give to Ukrainians sadness and disappointing? So it was open question, so people just said about that. So it's like people's loss, so like when people die, 20 to 23%, it's rocket attacks, 21%, it's war crimes in Bucha, Irpin, and Mariupol, 16%, 6% that it's war at all, and mass destroying 6%, and mass executions like 5%. So as we can see, the main issues, it's missile attacks and people dying, so as general. As perception of all this situation. One more time, if we're talking about war crimes, it's also very deep, and people most stressful, and it's became collective trauma for people. It's war crimes in Bucha, so mostly people remember war crimes in Bucha, in Mariupol, also mass killing in Azovstal, in Izium, and after racket attacks to Odessa, Kryvyi Rih, Zaporizhzhia. So it's racket attacks on civilian, if you don't know. And 31% of people said that it's, of course, kids kidnapping, and also 26% remember that this was rocket attack to also civilian train station. 25% that it was missile attacks on schools and hospitals, and 23% that it was shooting of evacuation transport. More also about shooting in different regions. So it's collective trauma which very deep inside Ukrainian society, and obviously this collective trauma will exist between between nations also in future. And what bring you dignity and understanding of victory? So people sense that like understanding of victory is liberation of occupied territory, 15%, liberation of Kherson, because Russian before said that it's their territory and then it was liberated. Also, it's a good counteroffensive operation near Kharkiv. General, people also said that general, our army, Ukrainian army, 10%, make them understand as dignity, and also counteroffensive in Kiev region. So in general, also we can compare this situation with understanding of different groups and with totally trust to Ukrainian army, which we see in other research, and it's can be interesting. Also, which give you optimism. It's pretty accurate because we talk about optimism in all this series of research, and main point which give to people optimism, it's additional weapons from partners, 13%, 11% it's related, so it's help of Western partners, and 10% that it's liberating. No, so it also results that if you have weapons, you it's give to you opportunity to liberate. We already said a lot about that, but what main partners Ukrainian understand? So it's Poland, United States, and Great Britain, and so it's around more than 60% Poland and United States. Poland more, because more refugees go to Poland, and Great Britain, and Germany only 17%. Also, some people mention Litva, Latvia, France, Canada, Baltic countries, Czechia, Estonia, and other countries. It's what people give understanding of Ukraine as a nation. It's unique role of army, of volunteers, and Ukraine as, you know, citizenship, yeah, like global Ukrainian citizenship, and in this like cooperation. So one more issues, what was most important in first days, people said that obviously it's army, 78%, and that it's all Ukrainian people, 62%, and 46 it's volunteers, because on the start it's a lot of supplies was and a lot of work was done by volunteers, but now also a lot. What people thinking about leaders? So what politicians important for you? So people said that it's Vladimir Zelensky and Zaluzhny. Zaluzhny, it's chief of army. Podolyak, it's speaker from administration of president. Pritula, he have volunteer work. Reznikov, which was go from his office as Minister of Defense, 6%. So as you can see from like Reznikov or Petr Poroshenko, who ex-president before Zelensky, 4%, till Zelensky 65%. But nearest is Zaluzhny, who is chief of army. So it's interesting. I guess that Zaluzhny will take a lot of parts and important role in future elections and future political process. I'm sorry. If you're talking about international politicians, so 38% think that Biden gets the biggest role, and President of Poland Duda, 50%, and Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister from Great Britain, 49%, and only 10% think that it's Macron, 9% that it's Scholz, like Macron, President of France, Scholz, Chancellor of Germany. And interesting question that do you agree with comparing Putin with Hitler? So 82% of people agree that Putin is a Hitler, like to compare him with methods and so on and so forth. So one more time, if we are talking about previous events, because previous it was Maidan against pro-Russian power, against Yanukovych. It's very interesting because it was complicated discussion. Pro-Russian political force said that it was anti-constitution and President Yanukovych was like a good leader. It was totally pro-Russian leader. And but now people, so question is that do you agree that this revolution Maidan of 2014 was rebellion against the authoritarian regime of Yanukovych, of that power, and 50% said that yes, and 26% said that no. It's interesting. So maybe people compare that it was trigger for starting war. But it's interesting. So it's interesting point because it's totally uncorrelate with our opportunity to go to NATO and European Union. So it's interesting point to think. And about compromises with Russia, because we are now moving through hard war, and obviously in some point it will be a diplomatic meeting. And it's also interesting to compare with people who support these rebellions against Yanukovych and who not support. So people who taken actively part in Maidan and in Revolution 2014, people said that about that we can have compromise with Russia because of peace, 17%. It's very important. It's very important to understand how Ukrainian politicians will move in through this potential negotiations. So it's pretty important to understand, because if I don't know, president or something else will move not with society position, it can be people with arm now. So it's pretty important to understand. So from people who then support Maidan, 41% said that it can be compromise, but not all compromise. 37% that war can end only when Ukraine win, only. So, and when people who like not support Maidan, 71% said that, I'm sorry. First, it was people who not support Maidan, and with people who support Maidan, support revolution, it's 71% said that it can be end of war only when Russia capitulate. So as you can see, it's completely different audience, and this audience who not support Maidan or don't think that it was right decision, they ready to go to compromise. But people who support and who taken part in this fight for pro-European positions, they don't believe that compromises will defeat Putin, and they said that war will be end only when Russia will defeat. We can correlate this result with a result of asking Ukrainian refugees when you want to go home, and I wrote it in piece on Wilson Center, and it's more than 40% people said that they will come home when Russia will be totally defeated. So it's interesting. Also interesting question about Moscow Patriarchate, because before war, many people go to Ukrainian Orthodox Church, but which was part of Moscow Orthodox Church. But we also have Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So it's all Christian, but in administration, like it was a lot of churches who technically was by administration of Russia. It's important to understand if you're not very familiar with this situation. So question is that do you think that Russian Orthodox Church was support Russian aggression? And for all Ukraine, 40% said that yes, they totally support, and 26 said that yes, they mostly like to support. So only 5% said that no, they don't support. So it's also some correlation with people who support and don't support revolution. But what's the main issue and the main result of this report? So the main result of this report that now it's formed new Ukrainian national idea. I mentioned some point which was important if in national's memory. I mentioned the most painful questions for Ukrainians. It's also interesting whom Ukrainians understand as allies, so United States, Poland, Great Britain. And also we see interesting points if we correlate like what people think about second revolution, Maidan. So feel free to ask me question if you have additional one, and if you want to dive with some other questions. And if you want to support Institute for Democracy and Development, please donate to our Ukrainian or American nonprofit. And with the same name, it's registered in Ukraine and in the United States. And if you want to cooperate with SAC group team on some research or analytical work, please contact me, Kateryna Odarchenko, or our team in the United States and in Ukraine. Take care. My name is Kateryna Odarchenko.